So today's topic for presentation is ecological process cooling with air cycle refrigeration technology. We will explore the new product line we have with the MIRAI X CRYO. So, starting with the presentation, my name is Tsiplakov Vladislav. I'm the Business Development Director. Talking about us as a company, at first we started in 2015 in Switzerland, but since 2017 we operate from our headquarters in Brno, Czech Republic. We also have our manufacturing facility here. We do a lot of testing on our products and also on other products. And we also have our own research and development. We work with air as the refrigerant for our refrigeration systems, which is absolutely natural, doesn't have any environmental impacts, such as global warming potential or ozone depletion potential. It is very cost effective because you don't have to pay for air. And it's forever free of charge. Has great efficiency and there are no regulations. As you may know, with the new F-gas regulation, this can be challenging for many producers. We have also rewards, many rewards for our innovation and product development, for the technology overall, and for specific products that we have placed on the market. Briefly about the benefits of our technology. Overall, we implement and develop and produce in-house our oil-free centrifugal turbo compressors, which are inverter-driven. Our systems overall are easy to install and service with automatic refrigerant refill. That is thanks to the system called system pressurization unit. Our systems are highly energy efficient, cost effective in use, and also we provide remote monitoring and remote access as optional. We have the maximum temperature accuracy at idle with plus minus 0.025 degrees Celsius. We have a very extensive temperature range, a lot of flexibility in the application of our systems for process cooling applications, but also even for cold rooms. Very low noise and absolutely no vibration. And our systems operate with low pressure, up to 3 bar. We provide a 2-year product warranty as standard, with full legal compliance, and with air as the refrigerant, of course. To quantify the impact of our commercial activity, you can see the data calculated by Atmo in correspondence with the GVP 20 year. So as a result of our commercial activity in 2022, we have helped mitigate emissions of CO2 equivalent of 1,182,000 metric tons of CO2, which is equivalent to almost 150,000 households energy consumed annually, which is a lot. So talking about the heart of our refrigeration system, that is the turbo module, which comprises of a centrifugal compressor and expander, which are joined by the same shaft. That means that the energy generated from the expansion process is fed to the compressor, making our systems up to 30% more energy efficient. In addition to that, we also use air bearings, which means that during operation, there are no contact in pairs, which means that there is no wear and there is no need for oil management and lubrication systems. That is all done by air, which helps greatly reduce service requirements and maintenance requirements of our systems. So talking about our new product line, that is the Ex Cryo, mainly developed for process cooling applications with temperature range from minus 120 up to plus 50 degrees, with a 0.025 degrees Celsius temperature accuracy at idle, at a stable load, with air as the refrigerant, also possible to use nitrogen as a refrigerant if your process requires that. And we have 3 power variants, 10 kilowatt motor, 15 kilowatt, and 20 kilowatt motors. All our systems are coming with our turbo modules of our own production and development, in this case, water-cooled. In addition, these systems are also coming with electrical heaters and pumps. In this case, we have a 12 kilowatt electrical heater and a 2.2 kilowatt pump, which is inverter-driven and controlled. So talking about the system, it's not only the electrical heater and the heat transfer fluid pump that we have integrated into the machine. In addition, there is also a heat transfer fluid expansion tank, of course, our air cycle refrigeration system, but a system pressurization unit. That means that the machine can autonomously pressurize its refrigeration cycle and minimize the attention that it needs in terms of service, maintenance, and support. A very autonomous system. Making an overview of the schematic of the operational cycle, for those of you who are aware of our refrigeration products, specifically the closed cycle refrigeration line, you know about the compression of air, cooling down in the end cooler with the help of water circulation, then cooling down in a recuperative heat exchanger, and then expanding the air to cool down a heat transfer fluid in the third heat exchanger here. You repeat the process often enough, you reach ultra-low temperatures. However, how the system X Cryo is different from our closed cycle refrigeration machines are the devices on the left-hand side. More specifically, we have, of course, the heat transfer fluid expansion tank, heat transfer fluid pump, electrical heater, but very importantly, a three-way valve, which allows us to bypass the heat exchanger and perform many interesting activities. So all this is not much without a very clever algorithm that we have implemented with the system that helps us to maintain such great temperature accuracies. But also in the X Cryo line, we have a product called XS, which means that the machine is smaller in size. It has a water-cooled electrical cabinet and also doesn't have a heat transfer fluid expansion tank. Of course, you may know that if you have an expansion tank, it has to be in the most top position so that the air can escape into it. So this system is mainly for underground installations, so if it is below the process, and has the same features as the X Cryo machines, but only it is available with a 20 kilowatt motor, no less. Also, we have variable heat transfer fluid connections. We can install basically any upon your specification. And you can see where is what located. As I mentioned, in this system, no heat transfer fluid expansion tank. So these systems are very easy to install. The main connections being water cooling, electrical supply, and process. Of course, if you want to control the machine remotely or via one interface, they're compatible with various high-level communication protocols. But more on that later. Overall, the system is true plug-and-play design. In addition, we have functions such as boost. That means you can have up to 7.5 additional cooling capacity for 5 minutes. That is to cover peaks of cooling capacity requirements. After the machine is switched on, for standard, it is 25 minutes. If you want the boost mode right away, you would need to wait 35 minutes for the machine to be ready. To cool down a consumer, in standard, it's 5 minutes from plus 40 to minus 100. With a boost mode, it can take up to 2 minutes. And for heating, 5 minutes, since we don't have a boost for heating, only for cooling. With the XS Cryo line, as you can see from the visualization, we have adjusted the connection ports for the heat transfer fluid angle at 45 degrees and also variable connection for water cooling. Here, the dry cooler, you can see that is not the scope of supply with the machine, but just to symbolize that the machine requires cold water supply for operation. And also you can note the heat transfer fluid expansion tank on the top, near the process, because it has to be the highest point. So talking about the product overall and the options available with it, as I've already mentioned before, we have remote monitoring and remote access available optionally with the system. We can also put the wheels on the machine if you really want to. Various higher level communication protocols, individual heat transfer fluid connection, also water connection, and it's possible to extend the warranty up to 3 years if required. All our refrigeration systems and machines come with a 7-inch touchscreen display and controller. On the controller, you can select from 3 modes, that is cooling, heating, and standby. So this controller is compatible with various high-level communication protocols. Most typical is Profinet, but we can also install Ethercat, Ethernet, PowerLink, or an additional gateway if your process is more exotic. We have pressure gauges at the front and also a level for heat transfer fluid and the expansion tank cap on the top that you can open and fill up. So mainly speaking about the capabilities within the process of this refrigeration system. Here you can see a typical test that we perform on our machines. Here to symbolize the temperature accuracy and the capability of the machine to reach to quickly cool down from plus 20 to minus 80, and then step by step gradually increase the temperature. And once we reach plus 30, in the same way, we cool down to minus 80, and then rapid heat up and rapid cool down. As you can see, the machine has dealt with such a task perfectly. But more specifically, in terms of process cooling applications, it does happen so that within a process, customers require accurate temperature maintenance. And this test shows that. With the purple line, you can see the heat load that was put on the machine from 0 kilowatt to 7 kilowatt. And the blue line would be the outlet temperature from the machine. And red line, you can see the inlet. So the machine has been keeping the temperature of heat transfer fluid supply stable within plus minus 0.5 degrees Celsius. Speaking about the overall X Cryo line, we have 3 models, 10 kilowatt, 15 kilowatt, and 20 kilowatt. Taking the broad temperature range, here you see from minus 40 to minus 120, the cooling capacity is in watt. So, for example, if your process requires 6 kilowatt for minus 80, MIRAI X Cryo 15 would perfectly suit your process. But keep in mind, all our machines are inverter driven. That means that they can steplessly adjust and control within the power level from 20% to 100%. So even if your process requires 4 kilowatt or 5 kilowatt, you can still go for the MIRAI X Cryo because our machines are designed to maintain temperature accurately and stably, and will speed down the motor if it's needed, thus produce less cooling capacity, but also consume less energy. All these values provided for cooling capacity are considering the 10-degree cooling water temperature. As I have already mentioned about the boost feature of our machines, this is a key implementation that we have done with our machine, which is permitted by the additional systems of the Ex Cryo machine. That means that if the machine is in standby or heating mode, it can cool down its internal components, the heavy heat exchangers, to lower temperatures and exert additional cooling capacity for a limited period of time. As I mentioned, 7.5 kilowatts up to 5 minutes, and then it starts to drop off. So in some applications where there are peak demands of cooling capacity, especially initially for freezing, rapid cool down, this is a very, very handy feature, which allows us to cut down the speed of cool down from 250 seconds to 80 seconds from temperature plus 30 to minus 80, while keeping the temperature accuracy in this test specifically plus minus 0.7. In this case, as you can see, we initially cool down very quickly and then have to level off in order not to go too deep down in temperature. So there are many, many applications for this specific product. More interesting, such as vacuum coating, semiconductor etching processes, but also plastic grinding, metal hardening, chemical process cooling, pharmaceutical lyophilization, also known as freeze drying. Same goes for food, but also storage applications, connection to a cold room. You can also have a heat exchanger with a heat transfer fluid, with fans that you can use for cooling of a cold room, or for freezing products such as blood plasma, other pharmaceutical materials, that also can be used for organic solvent recovery, small-scale LNG production, or transport, testing chambers, and food storage and freezing. Many of you know about the F-gas regulation. At least I hope so, because this regulation changes the world of refrigeration, air conditioning, and heating significantly. That means that the HFCs that we have been using for a long time already, that have high global warming potential, are to be phased out and significantly reduced in usage and consumption. This F-gas regulation has been enforced since March of 2024. And one of the main takeaways for our technology and our ultra-low temperature market, that means starting from 2027, it is prohibited to place products on the market with refrigerants which have global warming potential equal or higher than 750 CO2 equivalent for chillers with more than 12 kilowatts. But also the gases for more typical applications, such as air conditioning, will be restricted. And as you can see from the applications standardly used in ultra-low temperatures, typical gases include R404A, which has a global warming potential around 4,000, and R23, which is a second stage cascade with a global warming potential of 14,800. That is an astronomically high number. Consider that if 1 gram of this gas is let into the atmosphere, that is the same as 15 kilograms of CO2. Many pharmaceutical and chemical processes require ultra-low temperatures, and the companies on the market have been using a lot of gases such as R23 in tens of kilogram loads, hundreds of kilograms load. And then from time to time, it does happen so that they have a leakage, of course, in an accident. But those leakages have a detrimental impact on our environment. And at MIRAI INTEX, we're introducing our technologies which will allow these companies to continue with their processes of production medicine or important chemicals without potentially harming the environment. As I've already mentioned, and as we all hope, that air will not be regulated in the future, never, it will be regulated in the future. And of course, it is not part of the F-gas regulation because it doesn't have any fluorine. So also on an interesting note, as I mentioned, the temperature range for our refrigeration machine is from plus 50 to minus 120. But we have recently at our testing facility have reached an outstanding record of temperature of heat transfer fluid of minus 160. This is phenomenal in my view because it opens a lot of potential for new markets for our technology, but also a breakthrough in heat transfer fluid technology, because this heat transfer fluid is liquid at room temperature, but also at minus 160. This is a very impressive range. In any way, I thank you for your attention. Please, I'm looking forward to hear your questions in the chat or in private messages.